Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio. I am your host, Kelly Meehan, a citizen of the universe and a passage keeper and mentor for our new Earth children. I believe we are entering into a new psychic structure of our reality, and it is meant to embody deeper trust and ways into solid self-love and fearless integrity. Our new world energy of spirit babies needs us to consciously create within conception, trust pregnancy, and have freedom to birth and parent from innate wisdom. This is Spirit Baby Radio. Welcome to episode 244, May 2026. Intuitive support is the future healing. Calling in practical holistic care that bridges modern reproductive medicine for new world fertility. How do you read the fertile grounds of your body? Are you really infertile? How do you support your emotional and mental energy during fertility? Does fertility rejuvenation exist over 40? I have a special guest here. Yay, Aimee. How are you?
I am so good, Kelly. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I love this. And I was just telling Aimee what an amazing resource she's been, an amazing heart being that she is. And yes, I really mean it. I'm not just saying it. And she was on Spirit Baby Radio. I think it was 2017. And I can't even remember what episode or what we talked about. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll put in the show notes. And just to
Same, but I
see,
remember
yeah,
it, and we've been
just,
connected since. Yeah, that's
yeah.
crazy to think that that's almost 10 years ago. It's insane.
Wow. And then I loved it because we stayed connected here and there. Yeah. And
Yeah.
we were during the pandemic, we're like, what's happening? Like,
Yes, you
what's going
remember
on over
that?
in
Oh
your
my
side of
God.
the world? And just yeah, it's been amazing to just see even Aimee. I really have a lot of love for the work she does. And I feel like she's very progressive. And I send everybody to go, like, I feel like you get the most advanced or newer kind of insights in the fertile world. And as we know, there's so much like happening there. It's always
I know
changing.
so much.
It's like, no, it's this, no, it's that. And I really learned a lot from you about like, the egg quality. And I'm going to share your bio here and then just your books, but the egg quality, this I got to say it real quick so I don't forget it, is like all these women are like, "Oh, my eggs are bad," and then I think I learned this from you. It was like, "Well, did they check it?" And they're like, "No."
Well, there is no way to check it unless you went and did IVF with genetic
Well,
testing.
thank you for saying that because that's what women don't know that though. They don't know
No,
that.
no.
So that
No,
I
they just
really
are
appreciate.
told, a story, and it's kind of I think it's really based in old school dogma. It's not current, not current. They're not current with the research, but yet still kind of spewing the same info over and over again of like it's all your fault, all your eggs have gone bad, and you waited too long, and so upsetting, so traumatizing.
And this is what I love about what you're sharing is because you're questioning it. You're going, is this old science versus new science? And I don't know why we don't say that enough. Like there is old
Yeah,
science. Like
yeah.
how are we becoming better at the skill of science and it's maybe even not invented. There's things in the future that are not even here yet, right?
Oh, 100%, 100%. I mean, I think there's so many new innovations happening in the world of fertility right now. But, I also always like to point out too of IVF. I mean, still fairly new, if you will. I mean, it's, what the first IVF baby was in the 70s. And I know that's like 50 years ago, but that's 50 years, there's just like, it's always evolving. There's just so much we still don't know and understand. And there's so much more we know and understand now, but I think there's an interesting statistic or whatever fact that it takes I think 10 to 15 years for medical research to actually reach the clinician, meaning like that it becomes part of
Mm.
clinical practice. So there's this huge gap in the timeline of like what's coming out versus what doctors are speaking about or sharing with their clients, and so for many, many current doctors, they're practicing really on old science.
Wow. That reminds me of, I remember being a part of the birth community and advocating. And one of the things the midwives and the OBGYNs, they were all talking about was with through ACOG, which is am I going to say it right? The Association of,
Yeah,
you know
American
what I'm talking about.
College
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
Gynecology.
And this was years ago and it really stayed with me was you know, in order to change the story inside that system, it takes over a decade. So what they did back years ago, they said they were letting women were they were like, why do we have so many poor outcomes, especially in America, during birth? And what they discovered was we don't let women labor long enough. This was one of the things. So
Wow.
they decided to let women labor long enough. It took a while, and guess what? The outcomes were improved. And I don't have the stats and numbers, but you can research this. This I heard years ago, and I thought that's pretty amazing. And then now we're not going to get into this topic, but excuse me, but I feel like there's too many inductions with birth.
Yeah,
And I'm like, I want to go, where are we going to change that story?
that's
Because
right.
not everything is a medical emergency, a rush to be born. And how I look at it, you know how I look at it. I'm looking
Yeah,
at the birth foundation of
yeah.
consciousness of that being forced
Stress
into
and
the world.
anxiety.
And what is their first imprint? What is their
Yeah.
consciousness? What do they bring into this fast-paced world already? Right? It's like, so yeah, I appreciate you sharing that because that's a big part of it. It's, looking at like, yeah, what are we doing to make it better? And as I said, I'm calling you the New World Fertility.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I've been playing around with this like the term regenerative fertility. There's like regenerative
Oh,
medicine now they're talking about with, from an anti-aging perspective. And it's I I really truly believe, I mean, even just from the work I've been doing for so long and the cases I've seen, it's um you can totally restore your fertility even when you've been told you can't, you can turn things around.
that
Um
is that is huge, and I want to go into that. I know I didn't introduce your bio.
it's
I know
fine.
we're just going through. I'm going to share that later, but I do want to share really why we're connecting again. We're going to go into it is your book. And I
Yeah.
just want everyone to know Aimee has a few books. She has Chill Out, Get Healthy, Body Belief, The Egg Quality Diet, and Yes, You Can Get Pregnant. This is the newest edition too, revised. And I love the full title. Yes, you can get pregnant. Natural ways to improve your fertility now and into your 40s. And we're going to talk about this. I the book is pretty amazing, and there's so many things to go into, and we're not gonna go into everything, but this is definitely a must-have book for if you're fertile and I would even say in your 30s up into like what's happening because as me and Amy were just talking is like there is a lot of negative beliefs around fertility over 30 and I hear it all the time, you hear it all the time. It's like women go into automatic shutdown. It's not going to happen, it's never going to be good. There's a lot, I'm sure. What can you say about that if a woman's like, I'm like 40, I'm ready, and they're just feeling like no, I don't know, like the world says no.
Well, like, I don't know. I guess I'm at the point now where it's like, well, who gives a shit what the world says? You know what I mean? Like, why? What? So you're gonna let them take your dreams away just because they have an opinion about your age? Like, I mean, yeah, I can be more clinical and scientific or medically founded, but I don't think it's fair that they get they think they have the right to take your dreams away. I think I had my son at what I was just about to turn. I turned 41 2 days after I gave birth to him, and I got pregnant again at 45. Like I miscarried that, but I still got pregnant naturally at 45, and I didn't miscarry for age related reasons. By the way, too, we actually did genetic testing, and I know I didn't miscarry because of age related reasons, and so I think that's important for everybody to hear. It's like but just because you're 40 doesn't mean your fertility is over. Like, does fertility decline with age? Sure. But is it like they make it seem like they call it the fertile cliff? It's really like a slope. And it's kind of like a not so steep slope either. It declines slowly over time. But it's not just about how many years old you are. It's really about, I always say the difference between like chronology and biology or physiology. It's about that. It's about the quality of your life. And we'll get into it too. Like, and I think the emotions play a huge part in that, but there's so much you can do to maximize fertility outcomes even in your 40s. And is it harder? Maybe. Do you have to work a little harder? Maybe. But it's all about mitochondria. It's all about, cellular energy. One, maybe I'll just say that. It's
Mm.
all about that. It's all about energy and reserve and a sense of safety in the body. And if you're still ovulating and menstruating, and even if you're not, honestly, like I think you could still do it. We have to do some work to get you to ovulate and menstruate again, especially if you're trying naturally, but it's doable. In Chinese medicine, we say that a woman who lives in accordance with the Tao, which as in like the Tao Te Ching, she should be able to conceive until the age of 49. And that's been said in Chinese
Wow.
medicine, historical, writings thousands of years ago. And
Mm.
and we see that now. Now we're seeing it like with all the biohacking and all like kind of like the regenerative medicine and things of that nature. It's like people are their chronological age does not match their biological age anymore. People are kind of anti-aging themselves. And so, yeah, the ovaries contain, hundreds of thousands of mitochondria, just like your heart and your brain. And so it needs a lot of energy to do its job, but it can do its job when it gets the right resources.
What a different
So,
perspective I feel like you bring into that to really like even sit with that. Like I know from a energy intuitive perspective, I'm like, ooh, sitting with the mitochondria, sitting with the energy. And something you said that really stood out to me was about the safety and the connection. It's like the energy. And to me, when you say that, I think about stress, which I
yeah,
know we're like, I mean, I think everybody, we are so inundated with
too
with
much.
stress overall. But I had a woman the other day say, and it was just interesting. And what you're saying, it's like we're jumping, you're falling off the cliff. Like some woman's like, well, I'm going to be 35 and it's all over. And I'm like, wow, like just who holds
Who
that
told you
number
that?
for you? Like that's interesting. But that's where the mind is like, it's like just feels so like one pathed or something.
Yeah.
And I find that really interesting because I'm sure you hear it. It's like all of a sudden it's like, oh, now I'm 36, it's over. And I was like, where's that invisible line? And who says that? But you're saying I know is like, what's the nature and nurture of the body? And what you said, biohacking or anti-aging. And it's so true, though. It's so true. We are in that time of like, I know you see it and I see it, and I want to say it out loud, is that there's so many women in their 40s having babies
Oh
around the
my gosh.
world.
Do you know the first time since I think in the history of time that they've been tracking last year, so 2025, I guess, right? We're in 2026 right now, was the first year that there were more pregnancies in the 40s than there were teenage pregnancies. First year ever
What?
in the history of it, they've been tracking it.
That's pretty amazing. I didn't know that
Pretty
because
amazing.
I feel like because I know you see it and I see it, and then some of my clients will question it. They'll be like, "Oh, I'm just, I'm 37," and I'm just like, "What? Like that's amazing. Like, what are
Yeah.
you
In
saying?"
my head, I'm like, we still got
Yeah,
like
I
eight
was
to
like,
10
what? Yeah,
years.
I was like, what are you saying? And like, this is great. They're like thinking that I'm nuts right there in that moment. But I'm also like, some people I don't know their age because I do different work than you. I don't have to know
Yeah.
that information. And I say I don't
I
really
don't I don't
care.
actually pay attention to it either though, if I'm
Oh,
totally
okay.
frank
I
with
don't
you.
know if you need that. I feel like sometimes with charts and information, it's just different. But
They want to share it because it's important to them, but to me, it's like as a Chinese medicine practitioner though too, right? We're using so many other probably similar to you diagnostics to just kind of see the state of the health and vitality. It's more to us about constitution, health, vitality than it is like chronology.
yeah, I like that. Yeah, and I'm the diagnostic tool. Diagnostic. Let's scan. But yeah, because I'm thinking of just different women that have said things like throughout time in private spaces. Like, yeah, I actually told one woman, and I know people may be like, what are you saying, Kelly? Is I actually told a woman she was going to go through IVF and she was older. I says, just lie, tell them you're younger because she looked so young. She looked
Yeah.
like 6 or 8 years younger than what her age was like perceived to be, like. And she was like, "Oh, I didn't think of that." I said, "Because if
I
they're
know.
going to put you at a number, how unfair that is. Like
It's so
maybe you
unfair.
need to de-stress and you need to relax and just kind of see where your body goes." But I want to kind of the thing I was just sharing with Amy too is in her book, I really love the stories. I'm a big
Yeah.
into storytelling. Their Spirit Baby has this new edition of Spirit Baby stories and this one story, I'm going to ask you this one story. I was just talking about like, oh, but in the story you're asking, it's like I really love how, in the story you're not just going, okay, let's look at the science. You're going, well, what's your partner's experience? How
Yeah.
are they feeling? And I was like, that to me feels big. And then you're like going into the emotional, mental energy, not just like, you're doing all the other things, but it's like that really like stuck at me is like, oh, how is your partner healing? Like after a miscarriage. And I don't know if a lot of women get that.
No, they don't. I mean, I think most of fertility or reproductive medicine is just focused only on the woman. They don't really pay much attention to the partner. Um, and I think the partners too don't feel like they have much of a role other than to like, be the sperm, the sperm donor in a sense, which is a shame. I mean, obviously for the work I do, and I'm certain the work you do, if they are in a partnership, the partnership is really important. I think that's the foundation of, for me, I look at it as like, what am I helping bring a baby into? That's really important to me. And where are they and how aligned are they? That's all the pieces, that I'm always looking at. And then also, I do mainly still work with the women, as probably you do as well. But um I want to know how supported she is at home. Like, and is this relationship giving her what she needs? Is it lighting her up? Does she feel like she's doing all the work? Does she feel supported? I think energetically, that's such a drain on women. I love to see when the partners are super involved, emotionally, physically, nutritionally, all the things, because it just feels like, okay, we're in this together. It's teamwork. And I do think that's, from a spirit baby perspective, like, message are you sending this child, right? I think about that all the time.
And you're saying, I really feel like this is the new healthcare overall, whether it's holistic, whether it's like modern medicine, is what is I'm really big into the intimacy in the relationship that's being
Totally.
created. Because really straight up, it's really not about the craft and skill of the person. It's about the energy they bring forward more than anything. And I think people are getting that more and more. But I feel like you encompass it. You're like, here, come into my home, have some tea. Like, and then imagine that feeling is like, oh, your body just you don't have to ask your body to relax. Your body's just like, oh,
Yeah, I'm
being
safe
taken
here.
care of. Like, and again, this is where I'm so fascinated about the body and mind. Is like our bodies are going to react to that environment, and maybe we'll even talk about that. I know you have heard them too, but I've heard some nightmare stories of like fertility clinics experiences, and women are walking away like traumatized or like overwhelmed or
I mean, the things that are said, it's just straight up gaslighting, in my opinion. So I was in a podcast yesterday, and I forget what the question was, but I said something like, she said, "What do you think should change in medicine?" And I was like, "Well, I think more and more doctors should be reported to ethics boards, because the way they talk to their patients is appalling." The things that I have heard from my clients that have been said to them, and that they, it is like, think about it, like the trauma and like that energetic assault, like they can't ever unhear that. They are forever that number or that diagnosis. And then, and another thing I talk to my clients a lot about is in the books, of course I talk about it, but like, what are you leading with? Are you leading with like everyday decisions? What are you leading with? Are you leading with that dreadful diagnosis, or that you're never going to have children, donor eggs your only option? And I'm not against donor eggs by any means, but like this kind of like assaulting energy,
mm,
is that then leads your everyday choices. And then all of a sudden the talk about like nervous system, stress, energy, I mean, you're just kind of like this bundle of nerves, and worrying and waiting for the other shoe to drop every single moment, versus can you lead with hope? Can you lead with possibility? Can you lead with the belief that things can change, things can improve, you actually can get older and make better quality eggs and embryos? That isn't talked about enough out there, I don't think. So that's why I do it all the time. But um, yeah, I just think it's such an assault for, the nervous system. I mean, I was on a call earlier, and I'm referring her to a doctor who I love. He's brilliant. Just to have some diagnostics done. And I said, but she's 48, and I still believe in her. She has embryos made. We're going to do an IVF transfer. But I said, just be prepared. He's gonna tell you he thinks you should do donor eggs just because that's what he does. And like, he's not a bad man. He's been at it a long time. But like, I was like, just mental. Like, we went through like an energetic exercise of like, I want you to like walk in the room and be prepared for that. And like, he doesn't, and don't worry about his opinion on that. Like, you're just there to rule out something else. Like, let him do that job. And I try to, I'll try to tell my girls too, like, walk in the room and address the elephant in the room. I know my age. I know
Wow.
my odds. I know
Yes.
the things. However, I'm here to see if we're a good match. Are you the right, like, almost like I want you like in the driver's seat. This is my money. This is my body. These are my, my resources, my time, my family. Are you the right fit for me? Versus hanging your hat on every single opinion it's an opinion, by the way, too. Most doctors are throwing these opinions out based on the number of years old you are. No other information on your health status. Zero. They've collected zero information, and they've just decided, oh, she's 39. She's been trying to conceive for 2 years. Yeah.
This is
It's
huge. What you just said is like so, this is what we need to hear for anyone that's entering into their, I'm ready to have a baby at 35 and up, 40s, like that, what you just said. And this is something I've been saying for a long time is like, you are there to get whatever information you need from that relationship. It doesn't mean that like they can say whatever they say. We have to know we're hiring people to do certain things. And that's a really another big thing you said. It's like, there's something obviously we know through consciousness in the medical model of like giving all your energy away and they have all the answers, but this is why misdiagnosis and even the death of the medical community is up in the top 3 right now because
right.
there's mistakes, there's uncertainty. But I love how you're like let's create this energetic force field. This is what you're doing, and you're so assured in that because you know. And I feel like I wish more women had that like before, like, oh yeah, because again, I've heard all the nightmares too. And yeah, there's so much in that. And it's very empowering too, because I do feel like if you're going to be conceiving in your 40s, there is a certain energy you have to show up in these environments because, like you said, they're going to say, get the eggs, do this, do that. And I tell them, I was like, but that's not what you want to do. And, of course they say to me, well, what does Spirit Baby want? And I said, well, Spirit Baby wants what you want sometimes. So you're going to have to, you're going to have to sit with
You
that.
have to
Like,
lead, right? You're still the mother or the
yeah.
caretaker there. Yeah.
Yeah, so I tell women sometimes when I'm tuning into their energy and they're like, I can feel their no. And I'm very honest about that. I was like, regardless of what we're going into, I said your energy says no very strongly. So we're gonna lead from that. Because I
Mhm.
get it, it's scary. We want to make the best choices.
That's right.
And yet there is trial and error, and there's a lesson of energy in that, as you know, with people, and there is mystery. I tell women this, that there's a level of mysteries. Some things you'll know and some things you won't know.
That's right. I always say too, like when they're like, "What do I do next?" or "What's my next step?" And I like to say, let's not kind of work for it or search for it so much. Almost like let it come
Mm,
to us. I'll often say, like, I want it to like literally fall on your front stoop. Okay, that seems like the logical next step. Where it's like there is that bit of like mystery or magic or just like, but I find, and I'm sure you see the same, of like often when I first meet with someone new, or sometimes I'm working with them a while, they're just still so wrapped up in the trauma of it all that they can't see clearly, and they almost like need you know direction just from us, or like tell me what to do next. But it's like when we can get them to like calm and like, what do you see, what do you feel, what do you think is the logical next step for you? And that's missing in the medical model. There's none of that. There's no what's the word, like autonomy, or like the ability to say, this is how I would like to do it. It's like, no, 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 I'm the boss. This, and it's like I always say too, like, they are experts. I can't do IVF retrieval. Like, that's what we need them for. I can't do an egg retrieval. I can assess your labs, I can run through things, but like that stuff I can't do. But this kind of conversation of like,
mm,
even around certain procedures or next steps, there could be more of a conversation of like, how does this feel to you, or this is what I'm thinking, tell me what you think. None of that doesn't exist, and that doesn't give them that sort of vibe that they're in a relationship, or that it feels safe for them.
mm.
It's more like, this is what was told to me, this is, and these are these medical professionals, and they must know more than I do, right? They went to medical school and I didn't. So, I mean, but even I have medical doctors that are clients of mine, and the way those women are talked to, it's like, ooh, oh my. Wow. It
Yeah.
changes. It changes them. Oh, every single medical doctor I've ever worked with as a client, when they are, to the other side of this process, it always changes how they practice. They are never again the same. They like usually go into like more like functional medicine, holistic medicine. They're like, I can't practice in this model anymore. It doesn't fit me anymore. And that's crazy.
Wow. You're like a fertility midwife.
That's a good way to put
I'm
it. I like
inventing a
that.
new term.
Yeah, I like it.
Because when you said that, it reminds me of like home births versus like home birth nurse midwives versus,
Yeah. Hospital.
OBGYN. It's like
Yeah.
once they kind of melt into each other or learn about their different ways, that's very common to be like, oh, it's pretty amazing. And I hold in my heart the future of care, especially with fertility. It's such a
Yeah.
sacred space. It's not like we're just healing your tumor or cancer. It's like, oh, there's another energetic being, there's
Right.
consciousness, there's human life, which is so miraculous. And I know you've seen it all, and I've seen a lot of things as well. And I've heard things too. I've heard
Yeah.
things like where I actually had a woman come crying to me because the fertility specialist was very well known. And I said, hey, I didn't know this person. And I said, hey, maybe look into her. Everybody's talking about her. And she came to my space crying. This is when I was doing more in person, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, what did I do?" Right? And the woman looked at her and said, "What about surrogacy?" Who wants to hear that? No test, no nothing, just listening to her struggle. And then it hurt her so much. But then I thought, what an opportunity, right? We can alchemize that to, like you were saying earlier, it's kind of like, okay, they're going to say whatever they're going to say. It's within their scope of practice. I always say it's what they've seen. But I
Yeah.
also want us to be responsible for our energy. Like, why did I attract that?
That's right.
Interesting. Like maybe
Yeah.
you
Why did I
attracted to
attract that?
go,
And
yeah,
maybe it's the actualization of their deepest fear on some level, right? You know what I mean? So I can look at this because I that's what I say to them. I'm like, I think we should put it on. I always use a whiteboard as an example. It's kind of like how my
yeah,
brain works. Like, let's whiteboard it. Like option A, B, C, D, or you know what I mean? And it's like, okay, surrogacy can be on there. And also we can entertain that if X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how I
yes.
usually like,
I like that.
but I don't, I actually think too, from like almost like a spiritual or belief systems work, I
Yeah.
suppose the work I've done over time with like how would I say it? Like the most important or the best way to begin to shift a belief is to first acknowledge that it's there,
Yeah.
right? You got to like acknowledge the fear and talk about it. I think give it airtime, not in a way that you're attracting more of that fear, but in a way that you're like releasing it because you're so scared
Yes.
to even say it and it's in there, right? I'm
Yeah.
so
See?
scared that Sarah gets my only option. So scared of that. So but I don't even want to talk about it. I'm not going to tell anybody. But then this doctor calls her out on it. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like
Yes.
maybe that's why she attracted it to hear it and then work it out and then look at it. I mean, it's a beautiful option for some,
I
honestly.
definitely
Like,
want to even spotlight what you just said there. This feels really important is the fear because I know it's not always love and light and I know you're very compassionate and I hope I am too is bringing in the fear and holding the fear in a way where it's like, "Oh, let's look at this. Like let's
mhm,
sit with it for a moment." You said something really important. You're not attracting it. Fear is here.
that's
It's
right.
more of the acknowledgement of it. And I see
That's
this
it.
a lot, specifically around miscarriage loss, right?
Mhm.
Stillbirth loss. But I get a lot that this is one of the areas I've attract a lot. And I notice it's like, and I
Same.
tell women, I say, here's the deal. And they're just, I think they like to be seen, heard, and held, which is really important. I say, here's the deal. Now, when you become pregnant again, and you probably will, you're going to be terrified. You're going to have
I
fear.
would
You're
say
going to
so.
have uncertainty. And that's okay. Let's put it in the space. And there's
That's right.
something about that, bringing it to the space. And
I
um,
always say too, I'm
yeah,
like, you're gonna get pregnant again. You're gonna be anxious as all hell for probably the first 20 weeks of that pregnancy. But is that fear and anxiety bigger than the desire to have the child? And then they always say no. And I'm like, okay, then we have to go through it. We just have to
yeah,
go through it. And what I like to do too is I always say, but like before I allow you to go through it, we're going to check all the boxes. We're
yeah,
going to rule out everything so that you don't think I'm going into this doing the exact same thing I did last time and expecting
yeah.
different results. No. Now you're going to go into it. We've done, all these things. I just had an email that I was looking at from one of our girls who sadly just miscarried because her doctor's
Mm.
refusing to do additional testing. And then
Oh,
she's, it's so sad. And she's worked hard for her embryos, other things anyway. And she was like, "Do you think I need the testing?" And I was like, 1000%. Like I, it's unethical for me to stand here and say to you, "No, just transfer the next embryo." Absolutely not. No,
yeah,
now we
yeah.
have to, and also for like your own peace and your own heart, like you deserve,
Yes.
anyway, you deserve to look at it differently. But also, like, yeah, I guess going back to it is like, is the fear big enough
Yeah.
to prevent you from pursuing the dream? They always say no. They always are like, "Oh my God, no, no, no." Like
That's
I
so
said to
good. Yeah.
another girl today, I was like, she was like, "Well, the embryo isn't tested." I was like, "So are we not going to transfer it? Are we done? You're just going to leave that in?" "I'm never going to, no." And I was like, "Okay." So, of course, that's a normal fear. It's an untested embryo.
Yeah.
You've had miscarriages, but you have an embryo on ice. Like, it's a potential, it's life. So,
Yeah.
like, let's look at, yeah. But I agree. It's like I like to do that, to call out the fear, because it personally and spiritually, I believe it's helping them release it, or at least bring it to the surface. Because
Yes.
in Chinese medicine, the repressions are toxic, man. They are hot. They are like, they're dirty. They create a lot of like grime and all that stuck dirty energy in the body. We
Mhm.
need it up and out. We do not want repressed emotions. We want
I like the
expressed.
up and out. That to me is
Yeah,
important. And why I wanted to just kind of spotlight that for a moment, because a lot of women come around or I don't want to be negative. And I'm like, being fearful is not being negative. Yeah. Okay. There's a difference. Being every day, if you're in self-criticism and the fear is so big, you probably need some therapy, ashwagandha. Do you know what I mean? Probably acupuncture, like,
yeah,
but it's
yeah.
also like I want to just feature that we're talking about the nature and the healthiness of fear.
So that's right.
That's really
Well, and even in
important.
Chinese medicine, we say all emotions should be felt. They're all healthy. It's the extreme, right? Like what you're
Yeah.
saying,
Yeah.
and I also think, again, going back to like, in order to change a belief system, the first thing you have to do is deeply connect and be honest with yourself about the belief systems and where they came from and what's kind of underneath them or what keeps them there. And by belief system, I just mean like believing like, "Oh, this is never going to work for me," or believing what this one, medical professional maybe told you, or believing all your eggs are bad, or
Yeah.
whatever that is. But it's like, okay, what's the fear underneath there, and the consciousness of it? Because if we're not allowing ourselves to really feel it out of fear, then where is it, right? Then
Wow.
I think
Yeah.
it creates that loop. It stays there. And I talk about that in Body Belief. I talk about that in a few of the books, but I have a term for it. I call it emotional inflammation. It's like inflammation
Oh,
is everywhere, right?
wow. I like
But
that.
that's the term. And it's like,
Yeah.
and also now there's like actual research to show. I talk about it a lot in Body Belief, but there's a lot of research around placebo and nocebo effect. But basically, belief systems like almost being a self-fulfilling prophecy, and so if we want it up and out, which I think is how it has to move, it's not bad. And I say the same thing. If someone tells you, because there are those practitioners out there that are like, "You have to think positive all the time, otherwise you're never going to be
Yeah.
independent." I'm like, "Oh my goodness, no, no." If anyone tells you that, I think you should abandon them. But personally,
You're
so
fired.
much pressure. Yeah, they're fired. It's too much
Yeah.
pressure. Like, you're allowed to, like, how could you not be
Yes.
stressed and anxious? This is
Yeah.
freaking hard. One of my girls said it once, and I always quote her, "This is my hardest hard." And I'm like, and it is. This
Oh,
is your
wow.
hardest hard. And
Yeah.
we can't undo that. We can learn how to navigate within it, but like,
Mhm.
this is hard. This is traumatic. This is hard. This is not how you saw it going. This is
Yeah.
not, you're in a club you never wanted to belong to, right? Like cancer, right? You never wanted to belong. You're here.
Yeah.
Now what? What are we going to do? So we have to give space for the negative emotions.
Something you just said, and I want to kind of, again, I love in the book the stories. Again,
Yes.
I'm very big into stories because I feel like it really helps us to see, like, oh, I had something similar. Oh, wow, look what that person went through. And I had this woman I've worked with every month. She had multiple miscarriages, and there was so much family stuff coming up. Like there was, sometimes it's mom, sometimes it's dad, and she was working through it, but she felt like in her mental energy, like she had to figure it all out, right? Which was interesting. And I'm like, you don't. But it just kept coming up, coming up. So she comes you know, she's literally like in a session. She's like, "Oh, I'm going to go to the doctor, probably get a D&C." And I said, why are you saying that?" I'm like, you could be pregnant right now." And she's like, "No, the baby probably," you know, it was so interesting to see that. No, the baby, you know, and it was like, whoa. And then there was a heartbeat. And then she's literally this mindset, "I'm going to go get this D&C." And I'm like, what are we doing right now? Like, what is happening?
The
And you know, I'm not
protection.
just doing
Yeah.
spirit baby work. I do the somatic psychology. It's almost like spirit baby counseling
Yeah.
in the energetic. So then, yeah, it's amazing. So she comes back, and because you know, I'm tuning in, but I'm also like, she's not going to believe me no matter what. I can already tell. It doesn't matter. There's something there. So I'm just kind of like being very gentle, holding that, because she was just very, you know, people get in their fear. They're like, that's all there is.
Mhm.
And then she reports back that, oh, baby's a heartbeat. Everything's great. And I was like, that's interesting. Let's talk about that. Like, you were ready to, like, literally imagine with the mindset of, I'm going to
Yeah.
go. And then this was her first full pregnancy. And he's here. He's many years old, but it's like that was such a huge story that impacted me. And so can you share a little bit of the
Yeah.
story in the book?
Yeah. So
We'd
you're
love to hear
referring
that.
to the story. It's in, I think it's in the first chapter, right, of the book.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, show us the book
and
for
I
the
forget what,
YouTube.
I know what
Show
her
us the
name is
book
in
for
real
the
life.
YouTube.
What was that? Oh, right. I'll hold it up for the YouTube.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks.
But she, not Jessica. I'm just going to see her name from the, um, anyway, I don't need to know her name, do I? But
No, that's okay.
Mindy is what I called her. So 45, almost 46. Um, it's actually a great story.
Yeah.
I mean, so I've worked with her. She came to me, I think, at 44, and she had been trying for baby number two. She had her first child in her 40s, early 40s, like 40 or 41. Um, and she had been trying for a couple years, and she'd had a couple miscarriages. She'd done IVF, like nothing was working. And then because of the miscarriages and because of her age, everybody told her she should get genetically tested embryos, right? So that means PGT testing. She said grow it up to day 5 or 6 and test it, chromosomally normal. So she came to me, and and she was doing rounds and rounds of IVF, mini IVF. So just very little stimulation because she'd had a low reserve. So getting 1 or 2 eggs at a time, sometimes nothing. But in the process, I think of like 6 retrievals while we were working together, and we did all the things, the diet, the lifestyle, supplements, the herbs, the mindset, all the things. Should we get a genetically healthy embryo? One. And we're psyched. And we know she can get pregnant because she's been pregnant before. We transfer it, doesn't take. And that was devastating for everyone involved, and doesn't make any sense. Why would it not take? Because she'd been pregnant probably at that point like 6 times, I'd say, including the birth of the child that she has. And so she was devastated, and she, I think I tell it in the story, she like broke up with me, lovingly. She was like, "I love you. I love our work together." She turned 45, and so she was like, "I promised myself that at 40, no, sorry, it was 46. She turns 46. I promised myself at 46, I would give up this dream, and I can't keep doing this to myself." And so, I love you. I love our work. And then she says in the email too, like I still have it, of like, "I'm not going to change a lot of the things because my hair and my skin look amazing and I feel great. So I'll keep doing most of it, and it'll probably help me as I transition into menopause." But like, peace out, And I was like, okay, and I respected it. And I love her dearly. And then it was probably, I don't know, it's like 6 or 7 months later, I get like this urgent message from her, like an email. And she was like, "Help. I think it's finally happening. I'm in perimenopause. Like I missed a period. Uh, like, I can't believe it. Like, I need to talk to you immediately." Like, it was like one of those kinds of things. And so we get on a call, and I say, tell me what's going on, tell me the symptoms. And so she kind of runs through everything. And my period's really late. And I'm I forget, she was having symptoms. I don't think she was having hot flashes, but she felt like really bloated. She was like gaining weight. She was having like anxiety, couldn't sleep. What do I do? Like, should I go on HRT? Like, all these questions. And I was just like, did you ovulate? Did you have sex? Have you taken a pregnancy test? And literally, and this might not be exactly in the book, but word for word, she literally said, fuck you. Literally, fuck you, Aimee, fuck you. I'm not pregnant. I'm 46 and a half years old. Like, and I was like, ah, it's just a logical question. Like, because I was like, was up until this weird cycle here, were you menstruating and ovulating regularly? She's like, yeah, no, everything's been normal. And I was like, did you have sex? Did you ovulate and did you have sex? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, like, let's just hit a pause button. It's like, go get a pregnancy test, take it tomorrow morning, first thing tomorrow morning, report back. And she was like, not thrilled with me. And I was like, this call won't count. Like, we'll get on another call tomorrow when it's negative. Like, I literally, same as you, like, I kind of like went there with her because she wasn't going to believe me no matter what. And then the next day she messages me and same thing. She was like, so I got a positive. I went right to her old IVF doctor who saw her right away. And she was almost 8 weeks pregnant with a
Wow.
health. She actually took that baby home. She gave birth at the age of 47.
Oh,
And then the
yeah.
email I get from her too, because she was just that kind of person. She sends me an email the day she gives birth, and she goes, a newborn at 47 is no fucking joke. That's what her email said.
Love it. You're speaking
But
my
I mean,
language, East Coast vibes.
yeah,
You're
I mean
like,
that was her. And then so I was just like, I want to like unpack this with you. And she didn't even feel like she should be like one of my stories of hope because she was like, I don't know though,
wow.
because is it real? I was like, are you kidding? Like you didn't change anything. You still take all the supplements. She's like, the only thing I really did was I was drinking more alcohol because I had cut alcohol out completely and they had been on a vacation when she got pregnant. And she was drinking more, but she wasn't a heavy drinker. It was like
Yeah.
a cocktail here and there kind of thing. But everything else was the same.
Was
And then
that the
healthy baby girl.
surrender? Can we call that like
Yeah, that's
somewhere
what I
inside or
always say. If I could bottle
surrendered? Like,
surrender, I
yeah.
would. If I could bottle it. No, I think that's what it
Mm.
was. And I think too, they were in like what she said to me, like our magical place. It was like they were on
Oh,
vacation
yeah.
at this very special place. And they had like in you and I kind of touched upon it before, they had like fun, hot sex
Yeah.
that they really hadn't been having for years because it was
Yeah.
so baby focused. And so I think it was surrender. And she was like, this is that was also me though. When I got pregnant at 45, I would say the same thing. Like, I came to peace in terms of like, we're going to be a one child family and that's going to be okay. I love my family. I love my life, like full surrender. And I remember the same thing. I was like, uh, where's my period? And then the same thing, I was pregnant and I was like, this is insane. We were not trying. You know what I mean? This was like not
Yeah.
focused at all by any means. But yeah, I think it was truly surrender. And then, but for her too, same thing. I mean, she had had previous miscarriages, so we did some things to prevent miscarriage and just stayed on top of certain hormones like
So
thyroid
she
and
went
progesterone.
from intervention to natural. Is that what you're saying? She had some intervention before, or were they natural? I can't recall.
Oh, all that was the interesting thing. All her
Yeah.
conceptions were natural. She never got pregnant with an IVF.
Ah, oh, I see oh, okay, okay. Yeah.
But then
Mm,
she stopped trying
yeah.
because she kept miscarrying, and everybody said, well, it's because your age,
Yeah.
all the eggs are bad. So your only option is IVF
Oh,
with
yes.
the genetically tested embryo, right? So I think that's it too, of like emotionally she blocked that. Like, sorry, spirit baby, you can't come through this way anymore because now I don't feel safe in that way.
Yeah.
So this is the only way you can come through, right? And I clearly spirit did not want to come through that way.
Well, that's a whole other conversation that I tap into is like, yeah, some babies are going to be born that way and some just aren't.
Yeah, yeah,
And there's a deeper level of mystery for many others, but it's so individual to me. It's not like there's a cookie cutter. Hey, this is why everybody, this is where we have to be careful. I have to feel like in this world of spirit babies, like, oh, you didn't do this and this, that's why. It's like, no, it's like well, your story is your own story. And I think if we're open to the insight, we can receive deeper messages from our own body, from our own baby. But I
right,
think that people energetically, they're kind of either shut down, scared, or not sure. And that not sureness is like there's this existence in between those worlds.
that's
But
right.
that's pretty amazing, that story. I love that she was like, I'm gonna be in your book. Like this is not a good story. It's like a great story.
I was like, I love this story. You're kidding.
So tell us
Um,
more about your book about the revision. What makes it different than Yeah.
Yeah,
What
I mean,
did
I
you?
think for me, I have another like 10 or 11 years of experience under my belt from the first edition. I also became a mother in my 40s. When I wrote the first edition, I was 36 and uncoupled and childless.
Wow.
So my story is different and in there, the clinical experience. And then, from the science perspective, there's just so much more research that's come out in the last decade.
Yeah.
So it's really research heavy of like, I was always talking about like getting back in touch with nature and like nervous system work or whatever, emotional well-being, mind body. I was always talking about quality foods and listening to our body and vitamin J for joy. Like I've always talked about all of that. And so the core of the book, like the foundations are still very similar. But now what I've done is really layered in like, and here's the research to prove what I've been saying for all these years, or like, here's the data now. This is what we're seeing. And almost like more specific protocols, I would say, based on what we currently know, deeper dive into the mental emotional piece. I now have a team psychotherapist on my team because like, we take the trauma piece super seriously too. So
Yeah.
she helped co-author the mental emotional chapter, the mindset chapter. There's a new chapter on IVF. There's a new chapter on improving egg and sperm quality over 35. There's a new chapter on ovarian rejuvenation techniques that I co-author with Dr. Murhi, who's a reproductive endocrinologist and kind of like does all like the newer, he's doing like stem cell and PRP um and then there's a couple more interviews with other doctors. So yeah, I mean, there's more stories. There's my story in there. Deeper dive on like supplements and peptides, like all the newer stuff. Really getting into all of that, and I deeper dive into reproductive immunology. So I think it's a bit more science heavy, but still true to me of like it still always starts with the basics and the core principles of like nature, environment, nervous system, diet. Those things have to. That's like the main pillar or protocol, and then I have all these like accessory things now in there too.
So I like this. When you talk about it, it feels exciting, like it's a manual. Like let's say
It
someone's
is,
like
honestly, to
let's
me,
say
it's like
some
my life's
yeah,
work.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's you've compiled it over 2 decades, I guess, of the work. And
yeah.
then I'm thinking like a woman's like in her 30s hearing all this shit talk about fertility. Like I'm like, okay, get this book and then start from there and then,
And I break all that down too. I break down the science. Like,
yeah.
are your eggs really all bad at 35? Like, here's the data. Here's what the research actually shows. Like the statistics on it. Even the research around like, are we really running out of eggs? There's a whole body of research about that. Like, to me, I've read all the books that are out there too, and so I know, of course,
Yeah.
I stay up to date on everything. It's like this is I think the most encompassing thing that's out there.
I think what you're doing is very progressive, and I've always seen that with your energy over the years is why I offer and recommend is that I actually feel like your intuition and trust is like you're looking at the science, but your intuition and trust is everything. So you're
Yeah,
moving into it, and I see you moving into even areas where you're like, I don't even know what that is yet.
yeah,
Like new
totally.
ideas and of course I think our experimentation really is the experience of the clients and seeing like, oh, this is interesting. This has
Mhm.
really shifted in them and but you're also seeing them as a unique being. And what you said earlier is valuable. It's like, oh, well, the fertility, maybe that's the retrieval guy or the retrieval girl. Like they're doing their part to just, add to the space, but also looking at like, okay, I don't know. I always come back to the emotional, mental, spiritual, energetic space. I feel like when
Totally.
that's right, I feel like that external reality sets the opportunities, sets the things, and
Oh, couldn't agree more.
even
Couldn't agree more. You're
yeah,
able to like call it in. I think the
yeah,
clarity comes through, right? All of a sudden it's like, oh, okay,
yeah.
that was always now I see it. Now I see it,
And how many times have we done that? I know for me, I haven't been on a fertility journey, but I know with my health, when
yeah,
things are coming through, and I'm just like, oh, my mind is blown because this is the thing I don't think people realize. It's like, okay, the eggs are good, the uterus is good, then what is the problem? It's like,
right.
well, I would go into nervous system emotional regulation, right? But
Totally.
also, it's like, that can be the obstacle. It's not
Mhm.
always like, and if you're in partnership, that's a whole other conversation is like, where's their energy? Who are they? And what are they coming to create? I love looking at the more philosophical going into like, I'm becoming a parent. Like, what does this mean? And no matter what the trauma people have, like we have layers of trauma, right? I mean, we really do. But it's like, don't let that be let it be the navigating obstacle you're overcoming through, but it doesn't have to be perfect, you know?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So I'd love for you to share. We're coming to the end. I could talk to you for hours, and I just love everything you're doing and everything about you. So please share with us, like, just, your website, ways that we can get your book, programs, whatever's coming up the way you support others.
Yeah, I mean, right now, yeah, the book is the main big thing that's out there. It's apparently available anywhere books are sold, so that's where you can find it. I think the Amazons in all the countries have it at this point in time. My website, aimeeraupp.com, that's where you can basically find everything. I have a blog, I have, ways you can work with me, my supplement recommendations, tons of free resources. And then I'm pretty active on Instagram. And I also just started a Substack. So that's becoming my new passion project, I think. So keep an eye out for that if you guys like Substack. I'm kind of enjoying the deeper dive.
Love it. And then just to end this episode, just a sentence or two, just something encouraging you can tell everybody.
You have power over your health and your fertility more than you've been told. And I think to add to it of like, and trust your instincts. You know what I mean? Like you're here because you believe it can happen. And so please honor that. Don't lose sight of that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aimee, for being
Thank you,
here.
my love. Thank you.
And thank you all for joining episode 244. And Two to Support is the Future Healing, calling in practical holistic care that bridges modern reproductive medicine for the new world fertility. Thank you for joining Spirit Baby Radio with your host, me, Kelly Meehan. Please join my community and stay in touch with monthly energy rants, Spirit Baby poetry, and get access to Spirit Baby 101 with tips and practices at my newsletter at newearthchildren.com, and join me on Instagram with lives at Spirit Baby Medium, and join the Mighty Networks, the Spirit Baby Collective membership, and Motherhood to Mediumship. Remember, you are the heart that holds communication, and it is your time to connect. Come share in the great shift of your mind and the true spirit of your heart with Spirit Baby Communication.